Today, I'm talking with Matteo Vaccari. We talked about the early days of Xpday benelux, how any company we work for is always a bit of a mystery, and why camping is good for our health. I'm Yves Hanul from Who's Agile. My pronouns are he and him. Welcome to my channel. You see a lot of agilists around me on this screen. If you want to hear me interviewing, please click that subscribe button because these are the people that I've invited so far. If you think I'm missing people, let me know in the comments. And that like button, well, if you liked today's interview, don't forget to click it.
Hello everyone, and hello Matteo. It's been like we just said in the introduction. It's or when we met just before. It's way too long that we haven't seen each other. And just for everyone, I'm here in Belgium, and Belgium that means this little piece where the blue dot is. That actually Google hasn't found my house, but my house is there. And then removing to Milan, where we are. So that's a lot of kilometers. But I think we're still in the same time zone, Matteo, right? It
That's
on my
correct.
side it's 17:30, so somewhere there, and I think on your side it's more or less the same thing, right?
That's right.
So yeah, different. It's far away. Well, far, but not that far. But yeah, and like we said, it's way too long. But for the few people that don't know you, Matteo, just introduce yourself a little bit. Who are you?
So I'm a software developer who started my career in the late 90s. Then in the early years 2000, I began to hear about things about agility and
Hmm.
joined an extreme programming mailing list. And that basically changed my career. And
Mm.
since then, I've been trying to desperately learn what was it about and what is it that makes people, teams, organizations deliver software with incredible quality and ease. And part of my journey was getting to learn the Belgian extreme programming community, Belgian and Netherlands community, and meeting with Pascal, with Yves, with the others that organized the Xpday's Benelux, which is today, to this date, the best organized conference I've ever been in. And that
Hmm.
provided me with countless opportunities to learn and um, opportunities that well it's not something that you can just read on books, right? It's something that you have to experience and then learn from others. And sometimes people like Yves or Pascal or Vera would say just one word, and that was uh, difficult to understand for me at first, and then after years, it began to make sense. And yeah, it's an amazing journey, and this is still what I'm doing. So I was an independent consultant until the year 2015 when I joined Thoughtworks, and since then I've been less free with my movement, and I didn't have anymore the chance to go to Belgium or Netherlands to follow this wonderful conference. But I hope I will once again.
Well, Thoughtworks is among the most amazing companies. With from time to time, I hear people that were in the beginning in London. I would say I would think some amazing agilists, and then later on I discover they also worked at Thoughtworks in these beginning years or a lot later. For me, it's also kind of yeah, a label of quality. It's interesting. Yeah, of course, we met indeed at the Xpday Benelux. It's interesting you consider me as one of the organizers because I actually was never an organizer, but I was so close to the organizers that a lot of people think that. And yes, it's for me still one of the better communities, organizations, and things that exist. So I'm a big fan as well. Um, And I understand why you say that. Yes, and this year actually, Vera dropped out for a few years, but this year she was back with an amazing workshop also about refactoring. So if you're looking for things around that, I would definitely advise you to contact her, because she does amazing workshops. She's now working mainly as a teacher, where you used to be, if I remember correctly. So, but now she's doing things at yeah, not at the university, but at the high school, I think. But yeah, like you say, wonderful people to have to been around and to learn. I think it's fair to say that, at least for me, I've learned also a lot about working with you and talking with you at the multiple occasions that you were either in Belgium or that you invited us to Italy. So it's been an amazing journey, I think, for both of us. Let's jump into that very first question. So, what is something that people usually don't know about you, but has influenced you in who you are?
Oh, well, probably being an only child influenced my being very introverted. So that's, I think it's informing the way I interact with a lot of people. And
Mm.
on the other hand, you can, being introverted is a preference. You can switch to a different mode if you apply enough energy to it.
Yes. So for you, you're really using the definition of introversy, like it's Susan Cain, I think, came up with it. Like, okay, introvert is, yes, you're on your own, but you can act out extrovert, but then you need a lot of energy, and afterwards you need to recharge. And that's what I'm hearing. And I think indeed that might be sometimes how I perceived you in at conferences, because you don't always look introvert. You might be able to speak and act rather extrovert, I would say, but I can imagine, yeah, and I think I've seen you after sessions like that. That's a little bit like with a lot of introverts, and after a session where you gave out so much energy that you need to recharge, and you need to, yeah, recharge your batteries.
You got
I
it.
think that's that's a little bit, yeah. Well, I have a similar thing when I was in well, when I was in school. Basically, I was fully introverted, and it was almost impossible for me to act extroverted. I gradually learned it in school, because of course sometimes you have to do these kind of activities in school. Um, but in the agile community, for me, I've seemed to have found a way that I can actually give, and I would say Xpday benelux is where I discovered that I can be an extrovert and actually get energy out of that, because I can still be in the crowd until late in the bar, and really have get up in the morning with a lot of energy, and not needing to recharge a lot. But in different places, if I would go back to my school, friends from that time around, if I'm around these people, I'm back to that introvert that needs to recharge after talking with these people. So yeah, I definitely understand that. So, and when you think about yeah, about that, um, how it influenced you, do you, can you say some more about how that works in your life, for example, as a trainer or as a consultant? Can you say some more about that?
So there's a lot of struggle in sharing the work, right? Because
Mhm.
when you're so much used to doing your thing, thinking your thoughts, preparing the work the way you like, it becomes challenging to switch to a team mode, because
Mm.
growing older, growing more experienced, you're expected to not be an individual contributor anymore. You're
Mm.
expected to work with others, to grow others, to enable others to deliver, and that's challenging, right? Because you have to learn how to let go, how to enable others to do things differently, how to share your thoughts so that you're not just keeping them to yourself and then denying others to of well, sharing insights is an important part of being in any kind of delivery organizations, because we always need to learn, right? I mean, any organization where you work for is a bit of a mystery. So what are the knobs you can touch to get things to happen, and what's the key to enabling high quality work? And so it's always a bit of a learning and discovery and achieving insights. So this is especially something that I cultivated since I joined Thoughtworks, where working in a team is the only option. We don't generally appreciate lone rangers or heroes.
I like that you mentioned that. And indeed, sometimes introverts are perceived as lone rangers, and we might be putting ourselves, if people are introverts, putting ourselves in that role. But like I think we all discovered in Agile, it's much more about the teamwork. And indeed, then the introverts need to find ways to interact and find ways to become part of that team. That is indeed. And that kind of brings me to that second question. Might be this or might be something else. What do you consider your biggest challenge, and why is that a good thing for you?
So yeah, one of the biggest challenges is what I just shared, right? How to balance contributing and enabling and sharing and growing together. One other challenge is balancing. So the kind of work I enjoy is when you are in a software delivery context. So engineering, doing engineering work is where I feel comfortable, and I've worked in teams that delivered excellent work of an engineering kind. It's more challenging when the kind of work I have to do is not just engineering, is more about enabling the flow work to flow. Like when you have a single team and a single project to deliver, that's the sweet spot where we all learned agility. But then our clients often don't have a single team, don't have a single thing to build, don't have a simple organization, right? So how to
Unfortunately, not no.
no, right. Unfortunately or fortunately, because they have a very rich, this, let's say, problem domain where we can
True.
contribute and help. Because then I have to do work that is not engineering, is about understanding, is about having contacts, about talking and just sharing, learning. And it's very difficult to, well, to organize your day, to be satisfied at the end of your day that you did something positive rather than just attending meetings. But I know attending meetings is work, not necessarily useful. So the difficulty is in my life that is now mostly meetings and mostly over Zoom. How do I know that I'm contributing value? I'm doing spending my time in a valuable way. That's I find it really challenging.
Yeah, I understand that, because indeed, like you say, a lot of developers, when yeah, we want to focus on writing code, and so we see that our value is really in the code that we've written. But of course, we need to write the right code and understand our customers, and we need to collaborate. And for that, we need to have some kind of meetings. Um, Once we put two people together, it's a meeting. But the question is, okay, is it always valuable what we're doing? Is it just talking? Is it just ranting off and discussing? Or is it actually thinking together and figuring out what needs to be done? And that can be, I can recognize that that can definitely be daunting to sometimes figure out, is this now a meeting that was productive, that was helping my client or my my team or whatever. So that is indeed, and remote is probably even harder. Indeed, it sometimes it feels like we have day one meeting after the other, and then figuring out which ones are the valuable one at the end. At the end, for me, it's one of the things I try to do at the end on a Friday, looking back, what are now the most valuable things? Which one will I do next week, and which one will I try to see if there is a better solution for it? It's very daunting, and it's a big challenge. So yeah, I recognize that. And so that second part of that question, why is that a good thing for you? Is there anything good about that situation for you?
Yeah, I believe that is what pushes me to grow as a consultant, be more valuable as a consultant. So it's pushing me to find ways to get feedback about what I do.
Okay, and then figure out basically together with the other parties what is indeed bringing value and what not. And if it's bringing value and you don't like it, maybe okay, learn and grow from that. I like that. That's a nice way of looking at, because indeed, well, as consultants, we are hired, and sometimes clients look at us as we are the all wizards, especially if, like both of us, we've been into the industry for a couple of decades. It's tempting also for ourselves to think, oh, we know it all. And I think we both, well, my ego is big enough to sometimes take over and think that, but in my heart, I know it's not true. And I know for you, it's the same thing. We still want to learn, and we still want to, yeah, become better. So it's a nice way of thinking. Now, although you're introvert and you don't have an outspoken voice as someone who's yeah, very upfront, you are for me also a person who has a lot of passion and a lot of drive. Do you know what drives you? Where is your passion coming from?
Um, I guess that underlining what everything I do is a desire to see excellence in what we do, to unlock that excellence performance, excellent value. Well, it's not just delivering value, because when you deliver value in a very good way, that's
Mhm.
because on the other side you have someone who makes it possible. So um, achieving that state where you are really delivering beyond expectations is a team sport that includes the client you're working for. I
Mhm.
would say the client you're working with, because it's only possible when the client is collaborating this game. And
Yes.
I'm really driven to understand how to make this happen,
Mm.
because that involves a lot of work on yourself, on learning things, observing things, and learning how, not just how to do things right or things better, but also how to interact with teammates and client people and everyone in a way that leads to this excellence to be unlocked. Because I feel it's there, it's just latent in many times, but you can achieve it by just understanding how to unlock it. And that's a bit of a puzzle that I think is very rewarding to work on.
And do you know where you learned that? Because not many people do that the way you describe here. Because it looks like okay, you like to unlock that puzzle, and that's how I know you. Is this? Do you know where that is? That something you learned when you were young? Do you know when you got that drive to unlock puzzles like this?
Well, I think that in an engineering mindset, you are naive and you think that if something can be done at 100%, you should be doing it at 100%. And then
Mm.
there's a lot of things why this is not really true. And in fact, everything we do in engineering is a compromise of some sort. And but
Mm.
still, in your mind, there's this idea: oh, we could do it perfect if we only knew how. And I don't know. I think this is something I've always had in the back of my mind, and it's very ambitious, of course, and we never get to perfection, but uh, I think this vision, also the desire of being in a situation that works really well. Like, we all wish we were in a perfect situation where the team just works and the customer is just happy, and the value flows, and we are happy at work, and we are happy at home. And so the desire to be in this ideal situation is something that I find compelling.
Mm. And I like that you just at the end you also added the perfect situation at home, which I think is an important part of that puzzle, because indeed if things are not going great at home, and it might be different kind of things, it might just be okay in the relationship, but it might also be that whatever, your house is breaking down, or there is a storm that created some problem in the garden or whatever. Your mind might wander off, and you might not be in that state to help out. So thank you for adding that small little part at the end, because I think it's really valuable that we see that, because as much as we like or don't dislike it as engineers, we're still human, and it still has an effect on us as well. I think that's definitely a part of it. Now, I want to move to that next question, and I don't know how easy or how hard that is for you, but what do you consider your biggest achievement? Do you have basically, this is your moment to brag? What are you really proud of?
Well, I'm proud that after nearly decade of trying to learn how to um, make extreme programming work really well, I think we finally made it. So we were in a project that was wildly successful, and
Mm.
sometimes I still use the product. I've long left both the company and where I work for, and the customer, but the product is still online, and is still,
Mm.
I believe, maintained by the same organization. And sometimes when I'm online, I use it, and it warms my heart to think that so many engineers were happy to be in that project, and I think also the customer was quite satisfied of the work we did.
And so, and I do I understand correctly? You're part of the customer from the customer, something like that, because you
No,
still use the product.
no, we were. So this is a product that you can use if you're a client of a bank, let's say.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so I was in a software house, and we delivered
Mhm.
this for our client, and it went really well, despite being fixed price, but fixed scope. We changed that. But we had the date and the price, and we delivered beyond my expectations. And
That's interesting, and you remind me of about what we talked earlier on about Pascal van Cauwenberg, who had actually written two really important articles for me to make me think about fixed price and agile. I'll put them in the show notes as well. Back, I think, more than 10, 15 years ago, where people were still saying agile and fixed price don't do it, where actually he made a compelling case, and these days a lot more people make that. Um, but indeed, if you just make, well, the price is the same. It's always it's the team that has if that stays the same, that price is predictable. You just need to adjust your scope to make it to deliver, and so that make it work, and you made it work. So that is really something to be proud of. So
well, we of course, it was a team.
yeah,
But,
but you as part of the team. Yeah, sorry for
I was
mixing that up.
coaching the team, so I think that was a very nice achievement.
Yes, it's if you, well, of course the team did all the work, but you helped them get there, and yeah, that's like Pascal used to say, creating software is easy. You just create the right team, and they will do the work. But yeah, getting that team there and doing that is a lot of work, and you can indeed be really proud about that. Well, we talked already a little bit about personal agility and some things. Is there something that you've learned along the way from personal agility that you want to share with us?
I will share that I'm not that great at personal agility. I have
Mm,
a bit chaotic. I'm a bit chaotic in my personal process, not totally, but not as streamlined as you might imagine. So, yeah, I tried many things, like from getting things done down to many other things, personal Kanban, etc. I don't do a lot. So the
mhm.
biggest thing for me is to find to block time to reflect and work on thinking of what I should be doing. One thing that works well for me is well, I don't think I can share it, but I can't share the pages. But I
Mm-hmm.
have this bullet journal that helps me keep track. So get away from the digital and note my thoughts and my things to do daily. It's a bit of mishmash, but it's very flexible, and I like it for that.
So you, in that sense, you have your own little method. I really like, well, first of all, thank you for being so open and honest about how hard it is for you. Um, you reminded me of something I heard David Allen. You talked about getting things done. David Allen, the person who invented getting things done. I heard him once say at I think at the conference. I don't remember exactly where, but he also said this. Yes, I invented this methodology because I am chaotic and I need this kind of thing. And I sometimes also fall off and I have to remind myself to do it. And I've noticed that when I teach getting things done, personal Kanban, or a mix of kind of things, Pomodoro and stuff like that, is that what you say, thinking and taking time at the end of the week to think back about, okay, what was my schedule? Did I was I indeed again chaotic, or did I use a system, and what could I improve? That's what really works it for me, is like looking back. And it looks a little bit like that's what you're describing. You say, okay, I now write it down in my little notebook and I look back and I reflect. Is that a correct interpretation of what you said?
Well, it's more about a tool for the future. So I note all the things that I want to work on, and sometimes I write summaries of important meetings or important weeks.
Mm.
There's not a lot of system really. Is I use it for whatever I happen to feel I have the need for.
Okay, so well, indeed, maybe less organized as a system, but whatever that works for you. And yeah, I like it because indeed there's not, well, already a few people here on the show have talked about writing things down and having a little notebook. In multiple ways, this is helping people, and I think it's good. And yeah, of course, sometimes at team level, we want to have a shared system that can work for everybody if we're working on a team. But I think it's also important that everybody looks back at what works for him or herself. Um, because, yeah, and systems that others have invented might not always work for yourself. I think that's also, and I know that you've played around. I think you were the one who brought Pomodoro back to Belgium, I think, in the Xpday Benelux. I've been a big fan of it. It's spread around the world these days. I think, I don't know how much that was due to you, but I know that you brought it to Belgium, and Bernard van der Beke was in your workshop when I wasn't, and he taught me it, and then I got to get connected to that, and that helped me a lot. So that was yeah. And again, I don't use it on a daily basis these days, but it helped me figuring out some of that stuff. So that's yeah.
Thank you.
So
I
so
remember that workshop very well. I remember Bernard and my friend Federico Gobbo was with me in presenting that technique.
true indeed. That was, yeah. When was it? I don't know, 2005, 2006, something like that. very early on that of Xpday when some and I do remember going to the conference and hearing, okay, now we also have people from Italy, you have from other countries. So it was some of the first moments that people were coming to the Benelux from other countries, and yeah, we were really happy with that. So that was nice, and we actually learned a lot. So that was nice. I want to go to that next question, and you already talked a little bit about working over Zoom and working remotely. Is there anything else about working remote that you want to share? What is something that helps you in working remote?
What helps me is not sitting down. As you can see, I'm standing right now. I know that if you're a big fan of walking at work, I also started experimenting with the working from the ground, so sitting cross-legged or in other ways on the ground is better for my health than sitting in a chair. So,
Oh, and do you know why that is? Is there any?
well, because sitting on the ground forces you to uh, use muscles and stretch your legs and that in ways that you wouldn't do otherwise. So most of our furniture in the house is designed to avoid us making extreme movements. Like you have everything at your disposal with just at arm's length. But if you think about going camping, the range of motion that you do when you're camping, you have no chairs, no tables, no beds. That is really good for your health because it pushes you to a wider range of movement, to using muscles and ligaments and positions that you don't normally have in a well-furnished house. And it's helping me to take good care of my back and be more healthy, I hope.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like you say, I try to when I work, I try to walk as much as possible. The first two interviews I also did while walking, but for the people that I was interviewing, that was okay. But for the people watching it, was a lot harder. So that's why I stopped doing these recordings while walking. But already today, I haven't looked at the numbers just before, but I know I've already did 15,000 steps today at 3 o'clock or something like that. So it's probably around 20,000 now. It's what I need. Like you say, we need movement. Our body is not made for sitting. It's actually only like 50, 60 years after the Second World War that we started really coming to the office and sitting all the time, and our bodies are not adjusted to that. I haven't heard about sitting on the floor, so that's definitely something I will look. And I really like the idea what you say about camping. Indeed, we move a lot more. That's one of the things why I like camping. It's indeed it forces me to just not be lazy on holidays, basically. It forces me to move much more, move much, use much more muscles, and that's what a body needs. So to my surprise, when I walk, I actually feel much more tired if I haven't walked than if I walked. So
Yeah.
if at the end of the day I feel tired, it usually means I haven't moved enough and not I have moved too much. And that was really surprising for me, and to recognize that. Usually we think we move too much, and of course if I would run a marathon, which I am not able to do, but then it's a different kind of tiredness. But just walking while working is not that kind of movement. It's not that kind of thing that you a lot. So thank you for reminding us, because indeed when we work from home, we tend to stay in our office, and like you say, I have everything at arm's length, and I might be tempting to stay at my desk and not move. If I'm at the office, well, I might need to go to a meeting room. So I like we say, we were in meetings, so then we moved to meeting rooms. But if I'm at home, it's tempting to stay at my desk and then I'll just be here talking to you or to someone else. And if I don't have my walking desk, I would just be sitting all the time. And that's not working. So that's very good tip. I think a lot of people miss that when working at home, that they need to look at what are options, and sitting on the floor is not something I've heard before. So I think it's a very good idea. So I challenge everyone listening to this video to put it into the comments what they try to do for making sure they move more. And it could be walking, could be sitting on the floor, could be anything. I think this is a very good tip. So thank you, Matteo. That's really, I love it when I hear new things like this. So this is really inspiring. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Yves.
So I want to move to a book, and I think you're someone, well, behind you, you have a bookshelf just a little bit like mine. I think you're a big reader. What's a book, or what are a few books you wanna talk about?
I would like to mention this one. So this one was mentioned in the bibliography of Extreme Programming Explained, and so that raised my curiosity. And
that's this one, and I used the opportunity to also add a picture from Tom. I was at Agile back in 2015 with my son speaking there, and Tom was really a wonderful person to also have a chat with, and he was really interested in helping out. So not just a great book, but Tom is also a wonderful person, I think.
I agree. He's a great man. And around 2015, I went to London because he was giving free talks, free courses, and maybe it was costing just maybe £20 for the location.
Wow.
So I took the opportunity, and I got to learn more about his ideas, and then we met at the airport and invited me for dinner.
Wow.
So, but what amazes me is that this book is from before year 2000. But what I learned from him in the year 2015 was not much different. I mean, this is a person who's been preaching basically the same concepts for all his life.
Yes.
And
and it's still valuable what he's teaching. That's the thing, yeah.
I think it's it's very difficult this, because I think Tom Gilb has a very much all or nothing attitude. Like, you use my method this way or is nothing. And I find it very difficult to incorporate it explicitly in my daily work, but it helps you. It gives you a mindset that helps you solve problems that otherwise are unsolvable. Like, how do you prioritize paying off technical debt versus security versus implementing the new business rules? And he has a way to address this problem that's rational. And also I like that it's really based on understanding what your stakeholders want, and understanding how to make them happy. And that's ties back to my idea of deliver value beyond expectations. So you want to delight your stakeholders if you can. And so there's a framework of ideas that Tom Gilb has that is very valuable to learn, because it gives you a different way of thinking about requirements. We always think as developers, as application developers, most of the time we think of requirement as functional requirements. But that's only one tiny part of the cake, right? Of the total amount of expectation that you have for something that you deliver. And when I realized that, he said, look, a chair can have million different shapes, but its function is very simple. It's to sit on. So where two chairs are different is in where the qualities they have. So one chair is good for staying in the garden because it's waterproof. Another is good for working in the office because it's ergonomic. Another one is good for a meeting room because it looks expensive and prestigious. So there are all sorts of different qualities. And if your work as an engineer, as a developer, is to optimize for the qualities that your stakeholders care about. And delivering the functional spec is just the price to pay to be in the game. Being ahead on the qualities is what makes a competitive product. So if you're building an e-commerce system, selling stuff online is just the price for entry. But if you want to have a better e-commerce system, you must work on ease of use, speed of execution, on performance, on stability, on clarity, on information architecture, all sorts of things that go beyond simply sell
Website.
online. And so then you realize that many of things that we pass on as functional specifications really are just ideas on how to achieve some quality. So we have you might also like is not a functional feature. It's just an idea to sell more, to increase your sales. And it might work, it might not work, but you can measure it. So the functional specification is not really about function, is about an idea of how to improve the quality of the system that you care about. And it might be competing with many other ideas. So you can have a rational discussion of which one do we try, and then you can have you can decide if it was a good idea or not in retrospective, and then change it, because then you see that the client really does not change their mind constantly, as we sometimes say. The client might have found a better idea on how to achieve some value. So the function stays the same, is quite stable. The ideas for achieving the many qualities that we want, those are variable, because we always have new ideas on how to achieve those values. And these are not functional requirements. These are solution ideas. And this is all in this book and in his later books. So I invite everyone to explore this world of Tom Gibbs' ideas, because it's very different from what most other people are saying in this space.
Yeah, it's interesting that not many people know, or well, not many. There are still a lot of people who know about Tom's work, but less than other frameworks. Let's put it like that. I think it's partly indeed, like you say, he's well, maybe stubborn is too strong a word, but he has this fixed idea on how to do these kind of things. But that's, for me, is also a strength. If you look back at extreme programming in the beginning, that's kind of the same thing. It has some very strict ways of doing things that for a lot of people was too extreme. But if you look back now, 20 years later, the pair programming actually still makes sense. Well, we would say if we would stop doing it, we would more look at ensemble programming than single programming. So in a sense, we go even more extreme. And I think similar ways we can say about that. And indeed, it's one of the things I learned from Tom is that, sometimes we have the feeling, oh, clients don't know what they want. It usually is more like we don't know yet how to express what we want, and we have to discover it and figure out more of these. And then there's multiple names around it, but on these externalities, on what are the qualities that we want. So that is indeed a very, very nice way to publicity for Tom's book and Tom's work. So thank you very much for sharing that, because it's that's one of the interesting parts. Some people choose for a very new book because that's it's the new and shiny thing that we're learning. But it's also good that we have people like you to look back at some of the older books that we sometimes forget, and that we should be reminded of rereading it. I haven't read Tom's book in a while, so it's actually a good reminder to open it up again and to look back at what he wrote already so many years ago. Okay, I want to move to that next question, and that is for me one of the most interesting ones. Is that what question did I not ask you, and what question do you think I should also ask you? What is something that is on your mind to talk about?
You could ask me about what's next. I think that the remarkable thing about agility is that we learned how to deliver excellent value for a client when there's a single team. And the big question is, what if your product is so complex that a single team won't cut it? Which is kind of the problem that I'm personally struggling with. Well, my clients are struggling with, and I think that we change agent, agilists, whatever you'd like to call ourselves, we are constantly struggling with it because I believe that the single team problem is much easier to solve, and we're probably not called to solve that problem anymore.
In a way, this is kind of solved already, that problem, and of course teams struggle with it and not always doing it, but like you say, most companies these days, single team, they kind of know how to deal with that. They've read the books that we read, and they've played around with it. I still think there's a lot to improve, but you're right. These days, when when they call external consultants, it's much more for help us to have teams collaborate together. That's what I'm hearing, yeah. Right. And so, tell us a little more. Do you have any visions? Do you have any tips and tricks for that? What are you looking into when you look at that problem?
I think it's quite difficult. What I learned from my colleagues recently is that really one way of looking at it is that you can see it as a game of trying to go back to the situation where you have a single team that delivers the value. So when you have, instead of helping teams collaborate better, in the sense of more efficiently, more clearly, can we have them collaborate less? Because there's less need for collaboration, and try to go back in a situation where a single team is able to deliver value for a stream of value for a customer, for a product, without a lot of need of communication. And of course, sometimes this is possible, sometimes this looks impossible. I don't think I have a solution. What I try to do, what I try to suggest, what I try to push for is to, anyway, try to keep the continuous integration thing. So whatever the situation, I think that if your teams are integrating continuously meaning could be every week, every 2 weeks, every month. But if they keep integrating the product across all teams on a single version in a single environment that you can demo at the end of the 2 weeks and the end of the month, that I think is a vision I got from a colleague. That this is going back to the original idea, right? Of we deliver working software. So if we do that, we solve the problem that arises when we try to do that. We know that the software is being, how the software is progressing. No amount of dashboards can give you the same confidence as seeing that the product does something more this month than it did last month.
I really like that, and really, like you, when you started out saying, basically, what I'm hearing is cutting away the dependencies between the teams as much as possible, so that they can both work on their own. But for the dependencies that are still there, we integrate as much as possible. You said in the beginning continuously, but continuously could be for some teams every 2 weeks or every month. But what I'm hearing, you didn't say it, but this is why I want to check it. What I'm hearing is kind of as much as possible integrated. Is that what I'm correctly hearing?
Yes, as frequently as possible, and that's the main idea. And of course, there's a world over there. So the modern frameworks that we hear about, like less, like others, are all about solving this problem. And if you think about it, it's also about how you organize your company. It's not just how you organize the teams. So if you have a team structure that goes like this and the company structure that goes like that, that's not going to fly. So the problem is to organize the company and the teams to work together. And in Thoughtworks, we call it tech at core. And this is basically the idea, is that you're not making two different structures that sometimes meet, sometimes they don't. You make the same structure so that the business and the technology are organized in the same way, so that the incentive for winning in a particular product is the same for everyone. So we want to sell more of that product, and that is the goal of both business and technology together.
Do I hear it correctly? In my fantasy, it's then a little bit like like small companies inside the company, where everything is inside business and IT, or business and whatever, that we can deliver that product, and then somewhere else in the company we have another whatever business unit or whatever that is also kind of independent with business and that technical people. Is that how you mean it, or did I misunderstand something?
Let me first state that this is just me rambling. I'm not a person who has affected company transformations of this size.
Okay, but but that's also how you started off. You started off at saying this is for the future. This is what we need to look much more into that.
Right.
But yeah.
So having micro companies within the companies might work. And one other thing you could have is that basically, I don't know. The idea is to try to make you organize around the value to the end user, and everything should follow from that. So you create an organization that serves the needs of that user, and that has all the skills needed. And that reminds me, as I'm saying it, you need a team that has all the functions and the skills needed to deliver the product, and you extend it to company level. So also the business managers, salespeople, everyone, marketing, support, they all support the needs of that user of that product.
I really like that idea. It still is in infancy. I think we still need to discover much more on how that works, but it's a nice idea. I like that. It's a little bit against what some of the frameworks are doing, try to scale up and very hard. And I think a lot of people are looking at, wait a minute, do you really need that kind of scale? What are we doing it for? A little bit like in the beginning of XP, that was also let's start working on team level, and let's see and let's figure that one out, and then see what else we need to. Can we go back to having the customer with our team and stuff like that? So very interesting. Okay, I want to move to that next question about who should I talk next to? Is there a person that you want me to talk next to?
Yeah, there's a very a nice person on my team called is called Rob Solars, and
Hmm.
he's working with Thoughtworks, and he's mostly in the learning and development department in Amsterdam today.
I was
And
looking for a picture from him, but unfortunately his LinkedIn only gives this dog, if I'm correctly. So I haven't found a picture of him. But yeah, we don't always need to have these pictures to talk about it. So tell me a little bit about him. Why do you want me to talk with him?
because he has a great potential, I think he could develop in thousand different ways. But I think that having exposure and contact with an experienced agilist with you, and having him answer your questions could really help him take out all the things that are potential in him.
Thank you for bringing that, because indeed for me, my goal with this conversation that we have is yeah, I want to talk to three kind of people. First of all, some of the people I know, like you, this is an opportunity to just have a little chat and see us back, because it's been way too long. But at the same time, I also want to connect with people that I might know online, but I haven't spoken to face to face, even if it's not really face to face, but I have a conversation. But also, and for me, a very important part is indeed talk to people who I totally don't know, who maybe the rest of the world haven't met yet, but who have the potential to become, well, the agilists of the future, and the people that we want we will definitely hear more of. And that's a really important part that for me, that is really good to have people like what you're proposing to have next chat with these kind of people. So thank you very much for introduction there, because yeah, of course most people are interested in the videos about the big agile names, but I think it's as important to talk with the names of the future, because the new ideas might be there. And okay, Tom has some interesting ideas, like we talked about, that people should be reminded of, and we have to think about the people from the future as well, that they can bring up other stuff. So thank you very much, Matteo, for having this conversation, and bringing all these nice ideas. For me, you kind of, yeah, you're mixing very nice the things from the past with people from the future, and having new ideas. So this is all what I was hoping for. If people want to connect with you, what is a good way to find out more and to connect with you?
Have a Dusty homepage on the internet, and it
And
contains that's it.
that's your,
And there's my email address is at the bottom of the page, so it's pretty easy to contact me.
mhm. And you wanted to say some more about that page, what people can find on that page?
Oh, it's a bit a bit dusty, as I said. So there's some links to my past talks, videos, slides, and also links to all my older work that is of no interest to anybody. And that's it. Basically, links to some of the conferences that I where I presented that some might find some interest in.
Yeah, well, I think it's sometimes we forget it, or we don't always value it ourselves, because yeah, if I look back at the presentations I done, I sometimes do something, and then 5 years later I kind of forget it, and then I see, well, for example, the XP game is such a nice example of Pascal and Vera that was done years ago. And these days I sometimes remind myself, okay, and even there was a presentation that Pascal and Vera created, XP loops, that I'm actually started to use again this year, because there's so much value in there. And I think we sometimes forget what we have on these pages of wisdom that people sometimes need to hear again. We talked about the work from Tom, but I think it's the same thing for your own website. There's probably some gems and interesting things there that you might have forgotten, but that are still useful for a lot of people, because let's face it, you bring also like 15 to 20 years of experience in working in an agile way, so there is still a lot of value there. So I definitely, when I was preparing, I was just browsing a little bit on the page, and I thought, okay, yeah, true, that's a presentation I saw Matteo do, and that's something that that either we done together or I saw you giving at Xpday. So things were there that reminded me some things from the past. So I think it's definitely valuable for people. Okay, thank you very much for your time. It's, yeah, like I said, it's been way too long. I hope we can meet again. If it's yeah, at the conference somewhere else, it could be in the Benelux or it could be somewhere else. And I think you're a lot in London as well. You or at least that's in my mind
Not
there.
these days. After
Not
the
these days
pandemic,
anymore.
I've been
You
mostly at home in Milan, but I
okay?
hope
Well,
I'll start moving again. So last week I went to a conference and caught COVID. So
oh, okay. So that's not the well. It yeah. It's 2022, but it's still not over. Like you say,
yeah,
it still is possible to get it. So we have to still be very careful. It's yeah. One of the reasons why I like to do this talk as well is I can do it from home and spend more time here and still connecting with people. But I do hope at some point we get over that and we can when we can meet again and
yeah,
have
absolutely.
yeah, basically a coffee together or chat for a very long time in a bar somewhere.
That would be great. So it's a real pleasure to talk to you. You're very kind and generous with your appreciation. So it's a pleasure to see you again and talk to you.
Thank you for watching Who's Agile, where the stories of agilists come to life. I hope you liked today's interview. Subscribe if you're not subscribed and want to get to know other agilists.